Hi everyone and welcome, welcome. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Living from the Inside Out mastermind that I'm hosting here in November. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what living from the inside out actually means. So I think obviously the country of living from the inside out is living from the outside in, and for me that means listening to the expectations of others, listening to your own conditioning, listening to your limiting beliefs and your fears more than to your authentic self. And I think we can do that for a while, but there comes a point where I think we sense that the life we're actually living is not in line, it's not congruent with who we feel we are truly inside. And I have a good example of that. So I just recently found a list that I wrote when I was 20 years old, and on what I wanted to become. And on that list is I wanted to become a therapist, I wanted to become a writer or a journalist, I wanted to work creatively with design, interior design and art, or I even considered something like a shaman or a healer. And then 2 years later, I actually went off to university and I studied law. So looking at the list now and looking at my life, I was like, what the heck happened between, wanting to be a therapist and then going off and studying law? But I've never worked a day in my life as a lawyer because it was just not what I felt was what my life was about. But it took me about 25 years to come back to that list and be a healer, be a writer, have some kind of therapeutic impact on the world, working with creativity and art as well. So I just thought that was very interesting, and maybe that journey was needed for me. But I really started to change and went on my own spiritual journey when the pain of not living my authentic self had become so big, and so tense that I really felt like I needed to make a shift. Plus, of course, then the outside world also, I got a few hints, let's say, and that I needed to make a change. So the question also always when I work with people is like, can you make a change? A lot of times I see people change when the pain is really unbearable, out of a lot of pain. So the question is also, can we make a change and can we adapt and can we show up in a different way without experiencing so much change and that without experiencing so much pain? And that's what this retreat is also about. So in the first step, I think we're also going to look at learning again who you truly are. And it might sound silly that, of course I know who I am, but I think you get to a point where you really don't. And I also realized that we don't spend a lot of time actually thinking about what are my needs, what are my values, what are my rules, what is my blueprint, what do I think needs to happen to feel worthy and appreciated, or even what does success mean to me personally, because I think we bought into this story that there's a universal form of success, and I don't think that's true. I think there's many ways of feeling successful, but we have to almost define it for ourselves and go back to the drawing board and say, what does being successful really mean to me individually? So I think that's one part of what we want to do at the retreat. Another part is really looking at the skills. What skills are needed to live more from the inside out? And if you look at that, I think one thing that comes up quite quickly is courage, because you are showing up in a very different way. You are taking a risk. You're choosing what's right over what feels comfortable and what feels right for you. And it can also, I think I also got to the point where I started to make choices that didn't make a lot of sense to everybody else, but they made sense to me. So you also have to bear that tension of not being able to control the outcome, not being able to control how other people feel or what they think or what they say to you. So I think we're going into courage and vulnerability in terms of looking at the risks you're taking. I feel like when you are living your true authentic self, it is much more satisfying. It's much more fulfilling, and it's also much more energizing, because I think living from the outside in and living in that conditioning, it actually takes up a lot of energy, and it also not renews you, it drains you, right? So I think when you start to live from the inside out, it's replenishing, it's renewing, it's invigorating, it's inspiring. So that's what we want to get to. So yeah, that in very short. And then it's also about taking action. Sorry, the third point I wanted to make is about taking action and really saying, okay, so what can you do to really show up as your true authentic self in the world, and taking that risk and being okay with that, and being okay with not being able to control the outcome 100% and choosing what is right over what is comfortable or easy or fast or fun. So yeah, that in very short is what we're trying to do at the retreat. And as I said, me and also my co-host Brad, we both worked in big corporations, we have that experience, and we also went on our own spiritual journey. So I think we both value qualities like listening, reflection, taking time for yourself, being really present. So there's a lot of time for that as well in the retreat. I am an art therapist as well, so I bring in creativity, which for me is a very important part. Excuse me. It's a very important part, and it's very, it's such a beautiful thing because creativity is so individual. You give people the same tools, the same breathing, and you get something so individual, so something unique. So I really love with creativity and art as well. And then, yeah, we are in a beautiful location. We're in the Sierra Tramontana, which is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. And we have a beautiful mansion inside of a beautiful village. So we're surrounded by nature, we're surrounded by beauty, and we also want to allow a lot of space and a lot of time to really reflect and process. So we have a summer special running, and if you sign up until August 15th, so all the information is in the link below. If you have more questions, if you want to know more, then please also don't hesitate to reach out and we can have a chat. And I just hope to see you there. It's going to be an amazing experience. I'm very excited about it, and yeah, I'll see you soon.